Wonderful. Thank you, Ivy. I'm so happy to be here with you guys. It's so fun for me to meet a new group of people, and to think that I'm amidst really cool creatives is fun for me. So yay me. I was asked by Ivy to come and share some insights, kind of talk through the whole concept of change, and I am thrilled to do it. Little bit about me so that you're like, who the heck is this girl and why is she talking to me about change? My name is Tacy, so it's like Tracy, but it's not. Tacy Riehm, and I've been working with leaders and people in the corporate world for over 20 years now. So typically, I was internal at a company for a while, and then the last 5 years, I've been external. So I'm a consultant, and I go into different companies, and I work with their leadership and help them kind of navigate that. I say it's the people side of business. So it's that human piece as opposed to the functional piece of what they do, whether they're engineers, IT, costume designers, it doesn't matter. It's the human side is what I typically focus on. And I think, if you're to ask me, it's the most important, because that's where people decide if they're going to trust you, if they're going to listen to your ideas. That human side is so important. So in the midst of this, a topic that, not surprisingly has risen to the top is how we navigate through change. And change is so, I've been doing this for years. This is a topic that's a hot topic for years, but man, could it be more important now? I'm not sure. So I've been meeting with company after company about this specific topic. So I'm grateful to be here with you today and share some thoughts. Here's how I look at times like this. So we've got a 2-hour time slot. I will be giving you like a 5-minute bio break somewhere in here, but 2-hour time slot. And what I typically look at these sessions as, this is a time to just kind of pull back from your daily crazy, right? So it's time for you to allow you to kind of think, process, ask internal questions, and gain some self-awareness, maybe some others' awareness as well. So it's just kind of time out from the normal, where we're always moving forward. The other thing that I typically start out with is, I promise that I will not blow your mind with something that is so groundbreaking in change that you're like, God, where did this girl come from? She is so amazing. She should write books. I won't, because what we're going to talk about is foundational stuff. It's helping you understand how our brain, like neuroscience, plays into change, like what's happening inside of us when we're going through this. So I'm going to bring to you things you may have heard before. My goal is that it would be something potentially that maybe you've forgotten about, you haven't paid a lot of attention to, you've not been really intentional about kind of getting yourself through change. And so that through this time that you can just figure out, okay, at the end of this is like my biggest goal. At the end of this, here's one thing I want to pay more attention to. Tacy didn't blow my mind, so don't get her ego going. She is not all that, but she helped me figure out, gosh, I need to focus on this. Or in this relationship, as I'm helping this person navigate through change, I want to pay more attention to this. I want to be more intentional about helping them through. So that's my main goal. I'm hoping you can come away with one really practical thing that can be helpful for you. So with that being said, here's how we're going to attack it. Attack's a weird word. Here's how we're going to approach it. We're going to talk about what are the major barriers for us as we deal with change. And I say this because what are the barriers in our brain? What are the things that get in the way, that kind of stop us in our tracks, that get us stuck when we are going through massive change? And, months ago, I was talking about the massive change of people losing jobs, people needing to work from home, like that one big in March when it just went. Now, so much of what I'm talking about is, yes, that massive change topped with 1,000 other changes, like different ways of doing things. Not only are you working from home, now there's all new processes. Not only are you not able to work, but moving forward, or now you've got family members at home, or looking forward on how things are going to work. There's going to be all these different things that need to happen in order to go back to work. I feel like it's death by 1,000 paper cuts, and each one of those is just like a little change. And so we are at this place of, yes, there's the huge change, and now it's like the whole freaking world, every little thing, everything that felt normal isn't normal anymore. And it could be the smallest change, but I'm watching sometimes the smallest change can just be the barrier, like just that's the straw to where you're like, enough, you know, you lose it over like the dumbest thing. But it really is just that there's so much that's coming at us. And so sometimes we can get stuck. So we're going to talk a little bit about what those barriers are, what that looks like. And then I'm going to talk to you about what is your typical way, like if we were to go inside your cute brain, how do you navigate through change? What does neuroscience say that you have to overcome in order to get through the change? You know, making it through and kind of accepting it, getting to that place of acceptance. New normal, nothing feels normal, so I almost don't want to say new normal, but accepting that the change is there. So I'm going to help you kind of figure out for you, and if you have a team, if you work on project teams, if you have a friend, if you interact with humans, I mean, all this stuff is like inside work, outside work. If you have a spouse, kids, buddies, we're all going through this. So this can be helpful for you, but hopefully then as you help your people navigate through it too. So action plan, don't get scared. It's that one thing. What's that one thing that you would say, I'm going to pay attention to this. So I'm going to focus on this. All right. So we will walk ourselves into change management, barriers to change. And I'm going to get your insights in just a second. So get ready to type or get ready to unmute yourself. We're such a small group that it's easy to unmute ourselves to chat. But this was really helpful for me as I looked through change management and thinking about what this really means. Again, I work with a lot of companies, right, where there's changes all the time. This definition of change is really helpful for me to kind of delineate the two pieces of change that we're navigating through. So it says any change to a process, system, organizational structure, which means like new bosses, new ways that, you know, the reporting structures and things like that. They have a technical side and a people side. So it could be functional side and a human side. And so as you think about your job, as you think about what you do, there's going to be a technical side to any change that you face. That's going to be, well, how do we then, let's say right now, well, we can even say just, you know, losing our job. There's kind of that technical side is figuring out, hi, how am I going to make money? What am I going to do with myself? Like all the functional stuff, the stuff you do. And the people side is, how do I feel about it? How do I react to it? How do I still motivate myself? That human side. Let's say it's a change in a process. So pretend you get to go back and work on commercials right now. The technical side of changes, oh, shoot, I get to wear a mask and stand away from people and use hand sanitizer and spray things 24/7. Like that, the new processes are the technical side. The human side is our attitude, our awareness, our interactions, all that. So as we look at those two sides today, if you haven't figured, I am going to be focusing on the human side, the people side, how we react to it, because don't get me excited. This slide, it's like a chart and you're like, that's not that exciting, but it excites me. There's a study that was done that shows that the biggest barriers to change, meaning the biggest things that get in the way of change happening or it working well, coming to acceptance, is employee or human resistance. This was done within a company. So employee resistance. So you say, we've got a new program. It's going to replace the old program, and the program you've been, you know, the software system you've been complaining about for 12 years, we're going to replace it. That's the change. The human resistance side is like, well, wait, I know I've been complaining about it, but now I have to learn something new, and that's going to take more time. And so that human resistance of not understanding why, or just being frustrated with what that might mean for us, can get in the way of people accepting it, of the change going smoothly, of things happening. So all this to say is those first top lines are employee resistance and communication breakdown. That's the human side. So much of our own resistance, our own ugh, can get in the way and get us stuck. So that's where I want to walk through in a minute. How does our brain even process change? And how do I take control of my own reaction, my own coming to grips with it, so that you aren't stuck in a cycle of just yuck and pain? So that's where we're going. What I'd like to hear is when, I'm going to change this next slide because I just want to. That's what I do. No, I'm going to stick with it. Here's what I'd love to hear from you. First thought, when you think about changes that have happened in your life, whether it be this big, holy crap, coronavirus is taking over the universe, or it's changes that have come to processes and procedures and how things are going, policy changes, structure changes, different ways that your organizations are put together, or who you report to, all those kind of changes. What are things, when you think about a change that has happened in your life, maybe you didn't like it, but what was easier for you? There's some changes that come at us and we're like, that sucked. However, that was just explained to me, shared with me, all of that sucked. Or we've had experiences where the change might be difficult, but it was presented in a way that you're like, okay, at least I get it. At least I understand. I don't love the change, but that was easier for me to handle. What makes change easier for you to deal with? And this would be where you could type in chat or you can unmute. When you think of changes that you've gone through, what's made them, even if they're not amazingly exciting, there could be painful changes, what's made it easier for you? Carrie, I see you. Clear communication. Yeah, someone really sharing what's going to happen, maybe why it's going to happen. What else has made it easier for you? And Wendy, when you have a lot of information, yes, where you collect as much as you can. It's not just like a, hey, here's what's happening. It's giving you an ability to kind of process all of it. Eileen, change is easier when there's time to gradually adapt. Okay, which we did not have with the latest in coronavirus. That is for darn sure. But yes, when it is not as of this minute, we're going to make this change. Sure. Anyone else? What makes it easier for you? Clear communication, getting all the info, giving me a second to kind of think through it, to adapt on what that's going to look like. Anything else come to mind? Okay, I'm going to shift. Yeah, well, gosh, Wendy, you kind of hit the nail on the head there. When, and we'll get to the bad part next, but when you trust someone that is sharing the change with you, you trust that their intentions are good, you trust that they're not trying to screw you over, that is a very big factor in whether we will resist, right? So think about any boss you've ever had. If the boss, if you don't trust the boss and they're like, hey, we're going to make this change, you're like, really? You know, like in your mind, you're like, you have an ulterior motive. If you trust the boss, you're like, well, it sucks, but you know what? It's probably all they could do. God bless them. You know, we just have such a different view if we trust them. Lisa Marie, having time to practice before completing, before having to absolutely do that. Yes. So given time, not only to just adapt, but then be able to kind of fail a little bit, right? Where you can practice and see how that goes. And then Amelia, when leaders share that there may be mistakes or bumps, but frame this change with a learning context for improvement. Ooh, I love that, because it's not saying ready, set, make the change, you better be perfect. It's saying ready, set, we're going to have to make the change, and guess what? It's going to be bumpy, and it's going to be painful, and we're probably not going to be amazing in the beginning, but it's the learning curve, and they've set that. Knowing that stepping out of our comfort zone can be growth. Yeah. Man, when I'm out of my comfort zone, I I hope that I feel that way, Wendy. I'm fully with you. I hope that I feel that way. A lot of times, in the midst, when I'm first reacting to it, I don't feel grateful for the growth. Usually after I like come through a little bit, and I'll tell you in the process where I come through. Once I come through, I can be like, okay, this can be a good thing. And as I was saying with Ivy, like even all this craziness that's happening, it's crap. I would never wish coronavirus on anything, anyone, anyhow, any universe ever. Um, but there are ways to find some growth. There's ways to find lessons. There's ways to find meaning, you know, in the midst of all of this. What makes change harder? So when you think, like, what is it when you think, and it could be opposite, but just if there are a couple things that hit you, of where do you get stuck? Like, um, what's the barrier that typically you're like, this is my trigger when this happens. This is the toughest part for me with change, when someone does this. And I can kind of go backwards on some of your things to do the opposite, but being unprepared. Yeah, I got you, Patricia. And some personality styles, if you're into that, some personality styles enjoy a little bit of like, hey, throw stuff at me, and others absolutely hate it. So even just how we're wired can impact that feeling. Unclear end goals or objectives. So Amelia, it's really that why isn't clear, because if it was clear, then we would know what the end goal would look like, right? We would know what we need to achieve in the meantime. And I think we could all agree that right now we don't have a great, if we're going to talk about coronavirus, we don't have a really great end goal. I know that to eradicate it, yay. But I mean, like a real, is it the vaccine? Is it, there's so much that's still up that there's not that clarity, which can bring some angst. And in this, as we're kind of talking about this funky thing that we call COVID-19, I put on the COVID-19, so I don't want to brag about it, but I've really taken that 19 number very seriously and added that to my body. But when we think about COVID, when we think about what this was, because it's a literal, a universal, I know Americans want to think that it's just about us and our politics, but it's a worldwide pandemic. So in this crappy situation, there are lessons learned. If you look, and I want to just kind of, I'm trying to get our brains around change and how we respond to it. And then we'll kind of walk into how's neuroscience show us and what can we do to do it better. But as you think about what we just went through, what we're going through, what would be something that you would say, I've done this well? Like this, in the midst of this, as I've navigated myself, with my coworkers, with my family, what are some things, like lessons learned, you're like, dealing with this change, here's what I did well to help me get through? Don't worry, we'll go to some of the stuff that we didn't do so hot. But what would you share that would be something that you think, here's what I did to kind of get myself through so I didn't completely lose it? And you can unmute or you can type in chat, whatever's easier for you. Yes, Patricia. Okay, so approaching it for COVID for a safe workplace. So really looking to, does that mean that you had early on kind of adopted how to figure out to make sure that your workplace was going to be safe?
Hey, everybody. Can I answer directly? Hi.
I'd love it. Hi.
I guess it's being a practical person. I want to know what exactly I'm dealing with.
Okay.
And we're going to be in real workspaces with or without enough space, or with and with, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I needed to address it so I wasn't panicking about what about this and what about that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. So you got, it's almost like before when we say what we need for good change is a lot of good information, right? For you to be able to take in a lot of information, you sought that out, right? So you were like, I'm going to be informed. If I'm going to be in crazy situations, I will be informed with what I'm dealing with. Awesome. Thank you. Lisa Marie, completely pared down expenses. I hear you. Gotcha. What else did you do to make it through, that you're like, this was good. I was okay with this. I did well. Anything else that you would say? That some of it is just painful. So we could go to the other one. Oh, Wendy, you've maintained a routine and that's helped a lot. Yeah. I had to, I'm with you in that. I had to decide I was going to get ready every day. Like I had to actually get ready every day because I that was something that helped me um, keep some sanity. But yeah, a routine, creative cooking, that's great. So Carrie, working on like fun meals, and my kids in the beginning were like, I actually was cooking in the beginning because I had so much time. Um, and I did have a lot of meals. My kids are like, this is all I look forward to right now. Cause it was just, we were like, not a human did we see. It was just us six in the house. And they'd be so excited for the next meal. So I get that. And I want to say it right. I'm going to say Mikael, and I feel like it's right. Spent more time with the family, which is awesome. And reevaluating. I think that that's true. There was a lot of really looking at what's important. It forced us to take a step back. We've all had more time in our lives, and more time with the folks that we love. I was sharing with Ivy, I've got 4 kids and they're all here 24/7, and a spouse that is here. And so we have spent a lot of time together, and that's beautiful and painful all at the same time. And then retrain my brain to think of this as a gift of time to get things done around the home. Lisa Marie, that is gorgeous. And caught up with reading, which I didn't have time to do. Yes, I have read more books, I think, than I have in a long time. These are good. What are things that you would say that you did, now to say poorly, what did you do that you go, gosh, this was a reaction that I don't love? Does that make sense? No shame in it. We had a global pandemic hit us. Um, Anything that you would go, this was a reaction that, because this is self-awareness, just being aware. How did I process it? I'll share with you guys my first 2 weeks of this, because I travel all the time. And I love it. I think because I have 4 kids, but I love it because I'm able to get out to different companies, meet different people. I just feel revived. And when COVID hit, it was like, whoosh, no more travel for the rest of you. I mean, I took it a little far, for the rest of your life, and you're going to die in your home. I got a little, maybe a little dramatic. And so my first 2 weeks of reaction, I'm not really proud of. I was like, we're going to be on food stamps. Everybody's never going to have joy again in our lives. And so I went down a little spiral, and I wish I had had some intentionality at that moment to breathe, look, see what was really happening. So my learning was, when the next big thing hits, take a minute. Don't just run into those feelings to the point where it drags you down. Sit in that, breathe. Because 2 weeks later, I noticed, I'm impacting a family. I'm impacting the humans in this house. And that's not anything to model, is spinning. So in that way, I was able to kind of regroup and walk through the change model that I know that's true. That's right. That's good for me. And I'll share how that went. What about the rest of you? Carrie, yeah. I'm with you. I think that's part of the problem for me. Like, I'm with you. You didn't make much alone time, that self-care. Because if you had, and I feel for people who were alone, there's some folks who were alone in their homes and they wanted to have other people near them. So that's painful. And then you've got the other where you have too many humans that you're caring for, and you are trying to come up with great meals and whatever you're doing, but not really taking time for yourself in the midst of this. Anybody else share something that was a learning for them during this time? Lisa Marie. Yeah, yeah. Some people are taking this issue serious. Yeah, I got you. I think there's a lot. So I would agree with that. I think that it's frustrating. And then you add on a lot of the political divisiveness. You add on just a little splash of racial injustice that is continually coming to the forefront. There's just a lot going on, and the over politicizing of so much of that, it's maddening, and we can fall into that spiral. Yeah, I'm with you, Amelia. Just doom scrolling is a great way to say it. I've had a lot of people say they wish they watched less news. So could social media, news, whatever it is, but that we found ourselves going down a hole. And what's interesting is because there was we're quarantining, you're not seeing your humans in human form like you might be doing Zooms and things, but there wasn't a lot of let's grab a coffee. And so some of that human interaction was then taken away. So we had a lot of social media as our outlet or inlet, or, taking that in, and not a lot of that human, like we're going to make it, right? Where we're meeting up with people with different ideas and seeing things in different ways. So these are just ways to be aware of how we, I try to help my teens, social media is not going to be that great to put in your brain all the time. And then I just look in the mirror and go, what about you, girl? You are scrolling. And what's been interesting is I work with companies that are outside of the US. So, which I can't go to right now. I have the greatest gig. I consult for a company that's based in Iceland. And I'm jealous of myself. I'm so excited. It's just so fun. So I get to go to Iceland. I get to go to a couple different places. And as I'm talking with people in different parts of the world, they're experiencing the same thing we are. And in America, it is so over politicized that we think it's only us and it's only a left issue, a right issue, when it's like, it's global. Other people are like, you guys are wacko. I'm like, I know. So yeah, that can just run through us. Here's where I want us to just get is and I go through this, lessons learned when we have an opportunity like we just had and have right now with this global situation. And again, with a lot of other global things that are happening, of awareness is happening. I think it's very smart to take a second and say, how did I do? Not for shame's sake, just for awareness sake. Where was my go-to? Was it to go scroll? Was it to go here? Was it to reach out? Patricia goes to find more information and really kind of feed that. That can be a really healthy place to go. Where did you go? What did you do? How did you feel? It just helps with awareness. The next time a big change comes, know that you will have some certain go-tos. And the more aware we are of the places that we go that we like, and the places that we go that we don't like, the more intentional we can be about going to the places we like, right? So if I know I tend to just over dramatize, then in my next big change, I'm going to need to connect with people to say, let's talk through the reality. What is really happening? What do I know? So that I don't create other stories in my brain. That was a learning for me. So this is all about awareness. As we walk into this idea of change, I'm gonna share with you a model that I've been working with forever. And what's so fun is that neuroscience continues. There's just such developments in neuroscience, and it continues to validate everything that we know about how our brains work and change. So this is fun for me. If anyone's hearing screaming, no one's dying. It's just my 7-year-old with a tutor, and I think he's excited about it. So God bless. His learning is really on fire right now. So the phases of change that we're going to walk through are great because they will show us what's happening with our brains. Before we jump into this, here's what I want you to think about. As you are going through a current change right now, where do you think you fall? So with that, because I'm going to walk you through this process. What do you think right now is the biggest change, biggest facet of change that you are dealing with? What is something that's your latest, greatest, like, holy crap, here's my latest change. It could still be reeling from, I'm not able to work. It could be I'm going back to work and it's really difficult to navigate. Tell me, chat, unmute, what are some of your current changes? And I'm asking you that so that you can attach that current thing to what I'm about to show you so that we can keep it really practical. Yeah. So Patricia, just finding a way to process all the daily, like that death by 1,000 paper cuts, the daily change that you do turn on the news and you're like, oh, and it's a different thing today. So processing the daily stuff. What else is something specific that you're like, this is what I'm going through now. This is where I'm not struggling, but what's hitting you now of a current change that might be the most difficult, or just your newest, holy crap, this is happening. Yep. Okay. Wendy. Yes, excites me actually. Feels huge. Yeah, I got you. It's like moving you forward prior to probably you wanting to move forward, or it being outside of what your vision was for where you'd be. So is this what I do now? Maybe that was a plan for you in a couple of years or whatever that is, but yeah, those are huge. So thinking about, is this when we actually retire, and then where you go, where all those, I'm with you. Okay. Lisa Marie, going stir crazy, but also afraid to venture out. I gotcha. So just the daily scenario of, I need normalcy, but I also am not looking to, contract anything or spread anything, and that fear. I am with you. Yes, I was wondering, Carrie, if that might be a thing for some of you, as I'm dealing with this with companies, new protocols with companies, doing everything virtual, obviously, but new protocols with schools. So I was wondering, with onset, I imagine if you get work and you're able to go back in, yay! But then it's like, well, but what's that going to look like, right? That's a huge change. Eileen, thinking about the unknown factors in finances. Oh, I got you, girl. And then when I'm finding out that people close to me are getting COVID, yeah, in a new wave. I don't know if you've sensed this, but Mikhail, I'm with you of finally knowing a bunch of people who have had it or have it. It is a new reality. Got it. And Patricia, going with the flow is the most difficult mindset for me, but working again will require a great deal of listening skills. Absolutely. When you guys, okay, so in your role, Patricia, what a great call out. Because as you go back, when we talk about navigating through change, you will be listening to a lot and experiencing some folks who are frustrated with the new protocols, frustrated with the change, and you can be helpful as you listen. So keep that in mind. That was a really key thing. I'll come back to that in a second. Amelia, prioritizing setting boundaries in an industry that doesn't exactly endorse their workers. Okay, so being strong in your own personal boundaries of what you're okay with, I got you. Like, you've got to be clear on what that is for you and then stand in that. And when you're in the midst of trying to keep work and be happy and yay and easy to work with, then that's going to be a struggle. And you see how a lot of that is, we've had the big change, but now there's those like daily things. Now it's what's this going to look like? How are we going to return? My latest one is I kind of placed all my, like, we're going to be okay or we're not going to be okay. If my daughter, who just graduated from high school, virtually in the stupidest way, if she gets to move into her college, like, I was like, everything's going to be fine if she gets to go to college. She didn't get a graduation. This is going to be so great. And then we just found out 2 days ago, she cannot move into her college for fall. So that's my thing. Like, when we go through this, where I'm taking you now, that's my thing. And this is where I'm working to get through, because it was 2 days ago. And me, who teaches this stuff, I have to intentionally walk myself through this change curve. So welcome. Let us walk through. Let us look at this. We will, I'm going to walk you through this idea of the change curve. And I'm looking this way because I have a computer over here that's showing me my screen, just so that you know I'm not looking anywhere else. So I'm going to walk you through this and help you kind of see what it is. And then my goal is that you'll be able to find yourself in it. Where are you with the current change you're dealing with? And what might this mean for you to kind of get yourself through it? So it's the Scott and Jaffe change model, if that means anything to you. That's why I gave you a participant guide, so that you've got this written down, something that maybe you could reference later. But the idea is the first spot that we go when we've got a change that's coming to us. Let's say it's my daughter's not going to live on the college campus. It's the new change is in order to go back to work, here are new protocols, all those things. Or now I just need to be fearful if I walk out of my house. I mean, there's just all those things you mentioned. The first thing that our brains, when we go neuroscience, the first thing that our brain does is we go denial. Like, you are kidding me. So perfect example, my precious daughter, we get the email. I'm like, shut up. They said you're going to be able to go last week, and now they say you can't. No way. And so just as our brains, we've seen that this is how we're wired. We typically have a quick, no way. Now, you can get through that in 2 seconds when you actually believe that it's happening, right? So this can be one that you can literally go through like that because you realize, no, it's real. But other people can get stuck. And so this is when you're in this beginning stage, this is when, so it says past, you're looking at the past and everything is just external. We haven't internalized anything yet. You're like, no, it can't be true. It's like when COVID happened and I got the memo that my kids were coming home for 2 weeks. I was like, oh, no, wait, are you like not coming back to school? Like I was stuck in this holy, no way. I was external, and in the past, I'd never seen this before, so I didn't know where to bucket it. I didn't know where to put it, right? And so as I'm in this denial phase, I even had people saying, oh my gosh, we probably won't come back to school at all. And I was like, okay, crazy. No, it said 2 weeks. Like I was still stuck on, I can barely believe we're going to be home for 2 weeks. This is not going to last for the rest of the end of the school year. Calm down. I was very much just keeping it here. I didn't even internalize it yet because I was like, kind of didn't believe it was happening. The next place that we go, if we can believe it's happening, like we actually get that it's happening, we believe that, it's in our face, like many of us, it's very clear because we are now working from home, or we were furloughed, or we were laid off, or a show stopped. I mean, like you believe it because life happened, right? The next place we go is resistance. And I don't want you to get thrown off by that word. All this means is, do you see that it moves from external to internal? I'm still looking at the past, still like, wait, this doesn't fit. I liked how it was, right? I'm still past focused, but all of a sudden it's like, oh crap, what is this going to mean for me? So if I stick with the school scenario, my kids got off for 2 weeks and then they said it's the rest of the school year. And I will tell you, I jumped out of denial and I went straight into resistance. And what came was, oh, it wasn't even about them. It was just me. It just went internal. Like, what does this mean? I'm going to be a teacher now? Like, what are you? I get the joy of teaching my 4 children. No, all that went internal and it became about me. So think about in any of these changes, when like if we go, oh, there's new protocols at work moving forward, you might be like, oh my gosh, no way. How's that going to work? That doesn't even make sense. Oh, you finally figure out, no, it's happening. We get into this place like, whoa. So that means anytime I go close to a human, I've got to A, B, and C. So that, oh my gosh, that's going to be hard. And we just start thinking through, how does this impact me? That is just our natural brain reaction. What's going to happen to me? Totally normal. If we are able, let's take Carrie's example of new protocols going into work. If we're able to maybe go back to work and try the new protocol, like dip our toe into the new protocol, then we might get in, and it's supposed to be spaced a little better. Exploration is the next phase, which the only shift, we're still very internally focused, but we're now looking to the future to say, let me try it. So if we were to go into a new work environment and we have to have new protocols, I'll try it. The first day, that's exploration. Like, I'm going to try the new future. We'll see. If it sucked, you run back to resistance. I can't. This is going to be so hard. Like, we go back to resistance fast. For my example, I'm going to try to be a teacher to a first grader. I ran back to resistance really fast, but then I was like, dang it. Give it a week and we're going to try it again. And I kept the exploration, right? Like, I tried it, like dipping my toe in what this might be like. Then I had, 6 humans all together, dipping my toe into what it's like to actually make 3 meals. What the heck? Dipping my toe into all those new things until I was able, in that exploration, I was able to go, I didn't die. My son didn't fully go back into, like, he doesn't need to go to preschool now. Like, he's still in first grade. We're kind of making it. And once we get to that place, typically, if we can, we'll come back up, not as internally focused. And I can come out of my own, like this, because this is when we're in our resistance and exploration. I can kind of come out of this and I can go now external. Like, okay, I've made it. Here's the change. I've tried it out. I didn't die. We're okay. It still kind of sucks, but I'm gonna make it. That I get to this place of, like, here's where we have to be for a while. And now I'm external and I can look around and go, who else needs help? Where are you? All of a sudden I see humans again. Like, I'm able to be there for other people because I've made it. As we look in this spot, well, I keep doing this and you're like, why are you doing this? This is called the change curve, because we have to go from where our brain starts, denial, resistance, where we look internally, to let me try it, to, okay, I think we're going to make it. That's the curve. Here's what's interesting is, a lot of times I find in business that leaders want to say, here's the new change, get to commitment. Do not dip down. Do not feel. Do not react. Do not have a personal internal sadness. Do not complain. Don't bitch. Don't, whatever it is, don't do that. Get to commitment. And they want to circumvent that dip, which is awesome if it was possible. But neurologically, it's not even possible. So for those of you who have children, I'm guilty of this. I say, guys, and this is painful. New chore chart, my friends, because we're home all the time and there's a lot of trash. New chore chart. I want to say new responsibilities. Thank you, Mom. God, the way you teach us and the way that you keep pushing us to learn and grow in this family is so wonderful. I want them commitment, thrilled, future, moving. The truth is, that's not how it works. So if they have a, holy crap, that's a bummer. Well, then I'm not going to, I don't have that part. If I shame the crap out of them having any of this, then they will get stuck in there. So if you think about, if we try to get people to just be happy all the time and not feel, what happens is people either get louder or they go underground. And that's where it gets kind of passive aggressive. That's where trust gets eroded. That's where, oh, really? So you can't listen to me about this? I can't have a feeling? Awesome. I'll talk to everyone else in my world about it then. We go kind of quiet or we just get louder. So again, if you're a parent, if you tell a kid, stop crying, stop, just don't cry, stop crying. I don't know if anyone's ever been successful. Like, I've never been successful saying stop crying. Typically the child is like, wah, and it's worse. But if I say, get it out, let me hear it. Tell me how sad you are. I got to hear it. You got a good minute to really get this out. Typically my kids, when they were little, would be like, I'm done. Don't boss me around. I'm not going to cry anymore. When we listen to people, they're able to kind of get some of this out and move forward. When we shame them for having any resistance, any feelings, then it goes under or it gets louder. So I'm going to talk to you. We will get to the place of how do you do this well? Like, how do you navigate through these well? But before we do that, I want to ask, where would you say you might be right now in the midst of your current change that you listed here of unknowns with finances, new stuff on set, setting boundaries, um, let's see, scared about going out, right? All those things. Patricia, past, present, and new future in exploration. Okay. What about the rest of you? Where would you say you are? What hits you in terms of what spot you're in? And I'll just on my end, vacillating between resist and explore, seesawing. Oh, Amelia. So yeah. Okay, Mikael. All right. All right. You are very cool. Eileen, acceptance and exploration. I think I'm vacillating with my daughter, just finding out about this thing with college. I'm like still bummed, so I'm finding that I'm needing to kind of talk through that a little bit. And but I'm ready to go, okay, what's it going to look like? Let's try it, right? But knowing where I'm at, this is where it's going to be helpful. Knowing where you're at will help you know what you need. That's coming next. So that way you can help yourself. The whole goal of this, you guys, is to know where you are and then to know how to get yourself through it quicker, how to actually get yourself through the curve, or how you help your friend get through the curve and don't stifle them and help them get stuck. The whole goal, it's not to go flatline, change, happy. It's quicker, right? Carry resistance, not sure I want to go back in the new environment. I get it. I get it. And some of that is like, you have to have the opportunity to actually try to get into the new environment so that you can see what's that going to be like. But right until you get that opportunity, you're going to kind of be stuck in, I don't know if I like this. I don't know if this is going to be good. So here's what I want to do. I'm going to walk through as we just in our next slide is in each stage. If you're stuck, if you're in one of those, what is it that you need? What will help you get through it? And then hopefully my goal is that when you know how to get yourself through it quicker, that when you see someone in that same stage, you will be equipped to say, I know what they need. They don't need me to sugarcoat it and make it, oh, you're going to be fine. Everything's great. You're good. Or at least you have a job, or at least we're at leasting everybody to death. And there's we're almost having wars of who has it worse. Right. And so if you have it worse, I may give you empathy, but if you don't, then I'm going to go, well, at least you don't. And it devalues the internal process that someone's having of this is a bummer. There's a lot of bummers, and one might be less to you than the other, but it's their bummer, right? So I'm going to walk you through what can we do in each stage to get through that quicker. What I do know is typically good for people is a bio break. So here's what we're going to do. At 11 o'clock, I don't even know if you guys are, if it's only, I think it's only LA. So we're all in California. So let's do this, 6 minutes. Let's come back at 11 o'clock, quick bio break, and then we're going to figure out how we handle this. Ready, set, go. All right, my friends, we are about 30 seconds until we're back. Could you just give me a little thumbs up or a I'm here so that I can see in the chat or however you want to do it? I got you, Ivy, and a smiley face. Okay, Wendy, now you're all cool. You got the emoji scenario. Eileen, I got you. Oh, guys, look at you. Okay, you really may need to teach me some things. I love it. Okay, I'm seeing claps and thumbs and okay. So yeah, you're all cool. 11 o'clock. Here we go. Okay, hi Patricia. I see you too. Wonderful. So here, let's get to like why this even matters. Let's go. When I see you, Mikhail, too. I see everybody's back. Thank you so much. Just a quick bio break can do so much. I just walked out and my son's teacher left, his tutor left. She's like, wow, are you doing a Zoom? Because I've got the half scenario with a relaxed scenario on the bottom. So she just called me out, which is fantastic. Um, all right, here's where if you are, no matter where you are in this, you will see there's a way for us to get through this faster. It does not circumvent, it just gets through it faster. So here's and some of this is going to play back into what you said earlier is makes change easier for you. Some of it will make sense of why it made it easier because it helped you get through this change curve. So when someone is stuck in denial, looking and going, I don't even think this is going to happen, or there's no way, or that's impossible, or a lot of times people will say, I've heard something like this before, it never went through. So call me when it actually happens, right? So sometimes we can get a little bit jaded because change has been said that it's going to happen and it hasn't in the time frame people had said. So we may be stuck in denial. I'll, when it's a real change, most of the time we don't get stuck here only because it's so obvious. Like with the current changes, it's pretty obvious that we're working from home. It's pretty obvious when you lose a job. Does that make sense? So, but in this stage, what's so important as people are like, oh my gosh, no way, is that right? The best way for us to get through this is to communicate, which means, and it was just like what Patricia had said, she went out to find information. So communicate, if you're looking at yourself, would say, seek information. Seek information to clarify that it's true or not, when it's going to happen, what it will look like, why. So all those changes that happen, we've got to really see. If we look forward, maybe the new protocols that are going to come out as you work, you're going to want to find out what's the science behind it, why are they doing this, what aren't they doing, what are they doing, who's implementing. Getting that information will help you get out of this place of denial that it's not happening, right? So that's kind of and if you are helping someone through it, let's say you've got a friend, a spouse, a kid, any human who's stuck in like, I can't even believe this. I really can't believe this. It getting information to that person, communicating with them and saying it really is happening. It really is the new normal, or this. So that's kind of typically where it is. Denial is kind of a quicker one to get through because sometimes change slaps you in the face so fast you can't deny it. The place that I find a lot of people getting stuck is resistance and exploration, and resistance and exploration. You know, even though it's a curve, it doesn't mean that you can't seesaw, like Amelia had said, kind of going back and forth. So in resistance, when you're looking internal and going, oh my gosh, this is going to be tough. When you look inside, the way that you need to get yourself through it is to talk to humans who will listen. Talking through it. If you are helping someone else through it, you listen. So Patricia, you had said you're going to go back into an environment where you're going to have to do a lot of listening. There's a lot of anyone you talk to right now. I mean, you're at the grocery store, you're all masked up, and you're talking to the I don't even know what you call them, checker, yeah, to the checker. They're dealing with a lot of changes and a lot of things. Everyone we talk to is going through something. Where we get stuck with resistance is we don't talk and share and have someone listen to us, find our people who listen to us, and to listen to others. What we typically do as humans, we are uncomfortable with other people's pain. So if someone says, I am so frustrated, or if I was to say, I am so bummed for my daughter that she can't move to college. If someone's uncomfortable and just wants me to get to commitment, just get out of that, they'd be like, well, at least she got admitted and the spring will be good. No, thanks so much. That helps me. I appreciate that. I feel heard. Um, or at least you have a daughter. I mean, we could do at least all the time, right? So we've got to find, and in this stage for me, as I'm stuck kind of going in between resistance and exploration, I am finding I have to talk to people who are good listeners. And I have great people in my life who are so fun, who suck at listening. Like they are great humans, but they suck at listening. That's not who I'm going to go to. I have great humans in my life who are really good at just listening to me and sitting in it with me. And the second I'm able to go, it does suck. And someone else is like, yeah, what a bummer. Oh, wow. And asks questions like, what's it going to mean for her? What's that going to look like for you? What's the loss for you? When people listen to me, I'm able to go, ah, I got it out. When someone asks questions, when someone is curious, can sit in it long enough to ask me, how does it impact you? With all this COVID stuff, I've been really mindful to ask people that I work with, how has this impacted you specifically? How has it impacted your family? Because we all know we're in it. So we could all just be like, yeah, whatever, you too, me too. But it's helpful to be able to say, here's what I'm going through. Here's what I'm afraid of. So if someone says, hey, if one of you says, hey, I'm nervous to go back to work, or I'm nervous to go outside, but I'm dying for human interaction, the kind of person that will be a typical person is going to go, oh my gosh, just do it, or just stay home, or they'll give you, do this, don't do this, they'll give you answers. Someone that will help you get through this change curve quicker is going to be someone that says, tell me about it. What are you thinking? What's scary? Which part's the what do you miss the most? They just ask. So as you are trying to go through this, if you are stuck in resistance, find your people who will listen. If you are trying to help someone else go through this and you see that they are stuck in pain, you ask questions. They're the simplest questions. Tell me more. What else? How's it feel? Dang, that's hard. You're just going with where their brain is. Neurologically, we have to see it from our vantage point. And that's okay. And what I find in corporate America, and maybe this isn't like that with you guys are elevated and cooler because you're creatives, but in stifling corporate America, a lot of people go, shut it. I don't want to hear it. Don't complain. Get over it. Let's move on. And if you say anything about a new process, new procedure, new boss, that's going to be a bummer. Your bosses are typically like, okay, you don't get paid to whine. Keep moving. Let's do this, which really devalues where you're at. And it makes you stay stuck in resistance. They think they're doing a good job, like, come on, let's get going. But instead, you feel devalued, you feel unheard. And so you find the people who will hear you. And typically it's like the rest of your team. You're like, what an idiot. And we kind of go underground and we find our yes people who will make us feel better because they're stuck with us. It's not helpful. So find someone to listen or listen to. When we're vacillating kind of, which we typically do, between this resistance, how's this going to impact me, and I'm going to try it. When we vacillate between that, we go to this next exploration, like, let me see what it's like. Let's see if I can pare back my finances enough to keep myself afloat. All those, we're just experimenting. As we explore, a key piece is that we keep facilitating ways to explore. So if it's you, let's say expenses is the issue. Let's look at it this month with paring back in the way that I think would work. And then I'm going to take another inventory and see what needs to happen. So your way of facilitating exploration is giving yourself a time. Let's try this. And if in a month I come back, put it in your phone, you give yourself a little alarm, you look and go, huh, that was a little overkill. I have a lot more than I thought, or whoa, I have a lot less than I thought. You just give yourself a time to just try it. So you could also facilitate for, let me go back to this job and let's try it. I'm going to try my boundaries out with people. I'm going to have pretty clear boundaries and I'm going to hold them. Let's see how it goes this week. And at the end of that week, you reevaluate and go, huh, I wasn't so hot. People kind of walked over my boundaries, or huh, people misunderstood what I was doing for things. Maybe I need to clarify. But you give yourself ways to explore. If you are helping someone else, if you have other humans in your life, you facilitate that for them. So if someone's like, I don't know, it's just going to be difficult and I don't know what I'm going to do, you say, you know what? Try out, what do you think is the best thing that you could do to go out? Let's say if you're nervous to go out, but you want to go out, but what's one thing you could try and see how that felt? Maybe give yourself some time to see if that was helpful for you, not scary for you, if you were able to kind of stay protected. Try to facilitate something for someone, whether they try something out, it's a time period, whatever that is, so that they're dipping their toe into exploring that new normal. Let's just see, because sometimes, I don't know if you're like me, but sometimes in my resistance, in my fear, it can become bigger than what the actual reality is. So once I try it, I go, oh, that actually wasn't as bad as I thought. Oh, we lived past that. Oh, my daughter's life isn't over. We're going to be okay. Oh, we're not on food stamps. Like as I try things, as I keep kind of pushing forward, I see that and I get into that place of like, oh, and a little confidence kind of starts coming back. And then if it becomes like, I'm now able to go out and do those couple of things feeling okay, I'm now able to navigate my finances. I've figured it out, kind of reworked it a little bit. I'm able to go back to work and see that wearing a mask is a pain in the ass, but I can do it, and it's going to keep me better off. Or I could draw my boundaries and people won't hate me. Whatever that is that you've tried, once you've tried that, there's this idea of reward yourself. And it may be at that end of that week when you look, how did I do with my finances? You might be like, God, you're a stud. And you give yourself something that would be, I don't know, wonderful for yourself. A self-care something. Doesn't even have to be money, especially if money is what you're worried about. But do something for yourself that would be like, hey, good job. Or you go on your next job assignment and you successfully make it through for 2 weeks. You're reevaluating, seeing how it went, and you're like, I'm good. I can hang in with this. This is my new normal for now. Rewarding yourself, even by telling someone, sharing it with a loved one of like, I'm kind of doing this. Like, this is a thing. My thing has been, I was in companies in live settings forever. I was doing some virtual, but very little. And now everything I do is virtual. Except for one time someone had me come with a mask and it was so weird, but everything is virtual. So in the beginning, my thought was, well, no, first of all, no way. It's not going to last that long. Oh yeah, it does. Resistance phase. I was like, so how's that going to work? I don't even get it. What are we going to do? Just had my own frustration, talked that through with colleagues, talked that through with my spouse, tried it, was like, let's just see how this goes. And since March, I've been doing this. And because I've been able to kind of figure out how to navigate this new world, I'm in that place of, I did it. Like, yeah, it's not recreating a classroom. Man, would I rather be looking into your eyeballs? Would I rather give you a high five? And, but it's okay. And so I'm proud of myself that I've navigated something new. So I'm in that place. I think I was rewarding myself too much because of that COVID-19 that came on. Maybe rewarding myself with food and going out or ordering in. But needless to say, I rewarded myself. So as we look at this, this is for you and this is for the people in your life. Now, on this, when Remember when we used to go on airplanes? Remember that time when you would board this mobile that flew above this in the sky, and then it would land and you'd be in a different place? It was so fun. When we used to do that, do you remember when they would talk about put your oxygen mask on first and then put it on for other people? This is a similar situation. So as you look at this change curve where you might be, you need to get yourself through the curve before you can jump in and help other people. So if you are stuck in this resistance place of how is this going to impact me? And I can't, this seems almost impossible. You've got to look to say, who can I talk to? Who can I share with? Who can I openly kind of get this out with and have dialogue so that I can feel heard? What can I do to facilitate to try it, to see? Maybe I talk to other people who've tried it and kind of get their feedback. We've got to get ourselves through the curve before we can really be helpful to other people. And so as you eventually, I know it may not even feel like it, but you will all go back to work one day. I truly believe we will have a life. When you do, you will be so much better serving your people, the people you work around in your environment, if you keep aware of where you are and seeking out what you need so that you can help other people get through there quicker. Not by saying, oh my gosh, you'll be fine. It'll get better. I'm fine now. You'll be fine. It's listening well and helping people try, right? Those two bottom ones is where it's internal and we get stuck. I'm going to give you an example of how I kind of handled this poorly and then well in a corporate environment. And then here's what I'm going to ask you to begin thinking about. What would you, if you are not stuck, but if you find you are aware that you are in a certain spot, maybe seesawing in between, maybe Michael, you were even saying you're in commitment. How do you reward yourself? For those who's in resistance, who do you find to listen? What I want you to begin thinking about to get through this, to get to the next spot, or to if you're in commitment, to really reward yourself there. What would it take for you? What would you need to intentionally seek out so that you can navigate through this quicker and better, more effectively? I'll just give this quick example so that it's another way to kind of put this in your brains. I worked internally for a company for 15 years, and I was their organizational development person. So anything from change management to human stuff, leadership stuff. We were going to change work locations. 3,000 human beings worked in one spot since like the 80s. The building was old and everybody complained about it all the time. So I was given this task of helping people navigate through the change of moving to a new location, which is going to be new real estate, all like new, everything was new furniture, new location, cool location, like everything was good. So in my mind, brilliant as I am, the person who teaches on change thought, this is going to be great. I'm going to help announce it. And then they're going to go to commitment and joy and thank me for the decision that I didn't make, but they're going to be thrilled. So I help announce to the company, we're moving, here's what's happening. And I'm expecting them from go, no way, oh my gosh, you're the best. That's what I expected. As you would imagine, because we neurologically have a different way, they did a little dip. And so I got the info, line, people emailing. People were pissed. People were pissed. They believed it because we gave dates, we gave pictures, all that communication was done. So the denial was kind of hard. Like no one was really going to deny it. It was jumping into what's that going to look like for me. And what was so interesting is people were just pissed about weird things. I was and I say that very humbly, in my mind, weird things. But what's weird is in other situations, I freak out about weird things that other people don't. So to me, it didn't make sense, but it didn't make it wrong, right? So people were like, oh my gosh, that's good. And the building was 6 miles away. 6 miles away. And this is Orange County. We're not talking LA traffic. It was going to take them 10 minutes more if they lived the other direction. People are like, oh my gosh, my commute is going to be horrible. I'm like, I don't even know if there's food around there? And where am I going to eat for lunch? Like, okay, there's food everywhere, but what about parking? Like, will there be places to park? And like legally, you have to have places to park. So things were getting, I was getting so much resistance. So then I'm slow. I caught on. I was like, oh my gosh, the change curve. Holy crap. So then I was intentional, because in the beginning I was just, yay. I realized, oh, humans, we do this. So as we did this resistance, here's how I helped facilitate it. We did some focus groups and meetings where I could hear what the resistance was. So I was like, tell me how horrible it is, all of it. And I got as much feedback as I could. And you know, the two things that were the biggest issues for these precious people was their chair. Will my chair make it to the next office? Will I have the same chair? I was like, I did not expect it. People are attached to their chairs. It's a thing. And parking. Two biggest things that came out. So instead of me shaming the crap out of these people saying you are so stupid, which felt right at the moment, I tried to lean into my more mature side. I took that information and I tried to help them get to this explore part. How I did that was we decided in HR, we would set up our own, in HR, set up like a new setup of the new desks, the ones that go up and down, the new chairs, the new file fold. Like we set up the whole scenario and we had like you could come in and see, put balloons up. I mean, it was a thing. So they could come sit in the flippin' chair and see that it's better than your 1980s chair. And your new setup was going to be really nice. And that helped kind of get people, as I facilitated a little bit of exploration, like come see, sit, enjoy. Other thing we did was we did like a field trip with company vans, and we had specific times that we would take them from our location 6 miles away and show them the parking and show them the food around there, and that they'd all live, and then we brought them back to our old place. Now, they could have done that on their own, but what we were trying to show was we're trying to get them through faster. So I'm facilitating that parking isn't going to be scary anymore. So it may seem dumb to me, but it was very helpful for people, right? And then as we did that, anytime a department moved in, we would have like a celebration. We'd post pictures for the folks who were still, we kind of did a rollout, so still in the old office, and they made it, they're alive, and they actually eat lunch places. And, so that reward was like, we did it. And then it was 6 months in and we're like, we've made it. And we had like a little yay, we're all in. So we continued the reward. Sometimes the reward is, it could be so small. It's like, if you're able to try something out, a new way of doing something for a week, you reward yourself. Like, I made it. I mean, I did daily rewards at the end of a day. I'm like, of beginning of quarantine, you lived. No one was hurt physically, emotionally, I don't think, in the household. So little rewards can help you kind of keep moving. So I explain that just because as we try to help people through, or as we try to help ourselves, that's kind of how you try to do it. So I want to hear from you. If you are in a specific spot right now, talk to me about what would be a place that you could care for yourself better. As you look at this curve, what specifically could you seek out so that you could get to that next level or hang in your area effectively so that you can get through that? What would be something that kind of resonates with you of what you could do to get to that next spot, to get your cute self through this curve quicker? That's always the goal. It's not just straight, it's just how do you navigate your brain through quicker without getting stuck. And if you want to unmute or type in chat, this is your time. What sticks out to you that you could do? All right, Carrie, going back to work to see exactly what it's like rather than imagining. I mean, I'm with you. Our imagination can be kind of crazy, or just make it catastrophizing things. I think that's a word. Where we spin out even before we try. So it might be looking and making sure that you share your frustrations with someone who will listen, because if you're still in that resistance, it's sharing with someone, being able to voice it, get it out. It is so cathartic to get it out. But once you go, set those little, like, let me see what it's like, and after the first day I'll evaluate. Then after the first week I'll evaluate. So you kind of give yourself some of that exploration time. And then Patricia, effectively communicating to the new crew that there will be safety protocols. So I love your story about the chair and the physical space. Dear Lord, Patricia, when you don't think someone could get crazier about physical space, that was just a chair. And now I'm working with companies where they have to remain 6 feet apart, right? They're going back in the office and they have to remain 6 feet apart. And it is absolutely, well, it's imperative, but it's difficult. And so helping them, it's communicating the why. Here's where it's going to be interesting, Patricia. If you are a part of kind of needing people to make sure those protocols happen, some people, remember, this is for every change. They went through the loop on, we have COVID. Okay, I got it. We're there. I'm at new normal. The next change for people might be, I have to function differently when I go back to work. That's the next one. Well, you got to go through the darn loop. So your piece of saying, communicating the why behind that physical distance when you get back, how, why, what, as much information as you can, and then listen to, it is hard. It's frustrating. I'm with you. I get it. It's something we never thought we'd have to do. Here we are. Let's try it and then come back next week and kind of see if we can tweak things, or if anything, any learnings we had, right? So you're just helping them go through, and that information will be helpful. I like it. Wendy, I've been talking to colleagues who started working already. That's so smart. So if we're in our resistance phase, or like, what's this going to be like? Just hearing, voicing your concern, talking to people who are actually in it. What was it like? Is it horrible? Is it okay? Are you, all that. So wonderful way to do that. Absolutely. Anybody else? Yeah. Yeah, it's true. You communicate as much as you can, but we definitely don't have all the answers. That's where I feel like if we can help people chunk it out, like, let's go back to this new scenario. And after the first week, let's all convene again. Because guess what? Humans are going to vacillate between resistance and exploration. So if you don't pay attention to it anymore, you're like, cool, everybody's back. They know the deal. No, you will not be getting what you need out of these humans. You want to make sure you're checking in a bite-sized time to say, how's it going? And what you might get is a lot more of that just resistance, that like, it's hard, it's difficult. And you're like, I get it. What else? Tell me, what's the hardest part? Anything we can do to alleviate that? And maybe no, but maybe just hearing it is enough. Maybe you can alleviate it and go, what would be easier is if we had, masks in this area, or if you could tweak some things due to what you're hearing from these people, which can be really helpful. Here's a couple things. You've got this in your guide, but I just want to make sure that we walk through it briefly. And this will just be, you don't have to memorize this or anything, but as you're thinking about where you're stuck or where your people that are stuck, when someone's in denial, let's say there's a new change that you are dealing with, new change that you get to hold people accountable for, that you get to share with people. When people are like, oh, no way, we can't eat together. We have to eat at our own desks, or we can't even elbow high, or I don't know what the thing's going to be, but things you do and things you do not do. So things you do is clearly articulate what's going on, clearly communicate, clearly share the why, the what. Just like we've said, encourage major communication, be really clear, be concise, be honest, be available for questions. You don't just kind of drop the, here's what it is, see you next year. Like you're there. What you don't do if someone's in denial is give information maybe like indirectly just through an email without being available. Don't make false promises. Don't sugarcoat it. Um, you know, I can tend to try to, I'm a people pleaser. So I'm like, it won't be that bad. Maybe we can, and things will come out of my mouth that aren't even helpful because they're not true. Don't assume everybody's on board. Don't assume everybody's got it in their brain. Really communicate well. When someone is in resistance, when they're looking in themselves going, oh, how's this going to be for me? Key thing to do is to ask questions. How is it for you? What's going on? Listen, be patient. And if you don't have anyone in your life that's doing this for you, you may just even process through this yourself. Um, Tacy, what's most concerning for you? I mean, I can think through this, right? What is it that's really holding me up? Sometimes just knowing what this is, I can have a little moment with myself. But you're wanting to ask questions, acknowledge feelings. I have so many leaders who will say, hey, come in and talk to my team about getting through change, but don't let them complain and don't make it a bitch session. So talk to them about how to do this and accept it, but I don't want to have any complaining. And I've had to say, then I'm not your girl. Like I'm not going to help you launch a change without allowing any kind of frustration to be voiced. That's not even human. And I'm not scared of it, right? People can be bummed. I get bummed. So in this time, it's listening. It's making sure that you're offering time to come together to discuss this. Maybe when you go back on set, you kind of have okay, here we all are. Maybe there's no one that's going to lead that. And so you go in and say, what's going to be tough for us and what's going to be easy for us? Or, what are the changes and how's this going to impact us? And you just allow people to be frustrated. And then you go, cool, like we are the coolest team out there. We're going to get through it. Let's do what we know we need to do. And let's check back in a few days. Let's check back at the end of the week. But you can help people navigate while you're helping yourself. But when people are negative or resisting or what feels like complaining, you don't want to ignore it. You want to make sure that you're hearing it. A lot of times people will try to, they're not even passive aggressive. It's like just aggressive. Like they're outwardly being frustrated. Talk to them about it. Be okay with having a difficult conversation. Be okay with like, hey, here's what I'm noticing. What's going on? To listen, right? To make sure that they're heard. It doesn't mean someone gets to be a jerk face to you. It doesn't mean that at all. So if someone is blatantly just being a jerk and overstepping your boundaries that you set, if you have boundaries that you're pretty clear on and someone's like, and does like the political crazy stuff or demeans and devalues you, that's not just them going through resistance. That's them being a jerk face. And that's not part of the curve. And when you are experiencing a jerk face, you get to say, hey, that wasn't cool. This is where I'm at. Help me understand what's making you so frustrated or what's going on with this. This is what I need. You get to have a real conversation with that person. When I say listen to resistance and be open and how's it for you, I'm not saying be open to be run over. You're open to hear someone, but you're not open to have aggression towards you, if that makes sense. When someone or yourself is going through this exploration, like let's try it out, some things that you want to do is make sure that anything positive that's going on, anything that you're seeing like, ooh, that was easier than I thought, maybe you share that with people. So Wendy, when you're saying you've been talking to other colleagues, maybe it's asking for your own self, what's been easier than you thought and what's been harder than you thought, right? So it's almost preparing you for what that might be in that exploration phase. And as you're there, just celebrating the fact that you are even trying what's difficult and trying what's painful. But we don't want to go on to business as usual, like, okay, everybody's fine now. When we're going through a big change, we still have to check in with ourselves. We still have to do the chunk size, how's this going? And celebrate the heck out of the fact that we're trying. and not highlight failures. So someone had said it earlier, where it's easier for us to deal with change when it is deemed as, this is a kind of, we're just going to go through this and there's going to be bumps and bruises and we're going to not have it perfect. When we're trying something out, don't be so hard on yourself that you're like, oh, you're such an idiot, you pulled your mask down and your nose was showing. Like, don't kill yourself over failures, and don't highlight other people's failures, right? We can suggest, hey, here's something that we probably need to do, or here's, but we know we've got to extend a little bit of leeway, a little bit of grace to someone to say, we're just trying to figure it out, right? So that's not the time to be hugely critical. And then when someone is in this commitment phase, someone's like in it, they're like, this is my new normal, here's what I'm doing. For yourself, celebrate your success. Share it with someone who's a really good encourager of you. Share it with someone and be like, check me out. I'm doing things that I thought were too hard and I'm making it happen. Or I'm keeping my life together. Expenses I've really cut it back, and check me out. I'm making it. Look at this. Celebrate yourself. If it's sharing it, if it's giving yourself something for self-care, just that little carrot for us sometimes is so helpful. And if you see someone else is out there, remember, like, the commitment phase is where you're able to actually see other humans. We're not as internally focused. Congratulate someone else, like, hey, we're doing hard things. How fun is this? We're back on set. It's totally weird and difficult, but we're doing it and we're making it happen. And that, when we celebrate that, that kind of highlights the way that, you know what, my change muscle is pretty strong. I'm able to do stuff I never thought I'd be able to do. And that, when the next change comes, you will have more resilience of like, I did harder. Like, I've gotten through more difficult than this. And that resilience in your brain is there. Um, do not recognize or reinforce. So making sure that you are seeing yourself for what you're doing, congratulating yourself and those around you. This is big stuff. And it's not like, the whole world's doing it, just get over yourself. This is big stuff. And even the little ones, the little changes are the ones that could throw us over. We got to be thinking about, how is this? How did I do this? Intentionally, what can I do to stay at this place of commitment? And as I get, the best part is you go, another change is coming. Don't worry. So you're here, you're like, look at me. Next change, you turn on the news, you're like, oh, excellent. Holy crap, I don't believe it. I can't. And we do the whole thing again. So our life is this: change curve, change curve, change curve. So we need to be looking at, how do we react? What's important for us? And what can be, how can I intentionally help myself through it quicker? And how can I intentionally help the people in my life through it quicker? I'm going to take us, we kind of answered that. I want to kind of, I'll go back to this. I want to show you this. This will be our last slide, and then we're going to wrap up of kind of what our takeaway is. There's the 4 Ps. I think I pick things like this because it's easier for me to remember. I have too much on my brain. So if it's an acrostic or it spells something, it's just easier for me. But know that as you are helping your people through this change curve, 4 of these things can help you very well as you're navigating through it. And if it's just you navigating through, these 4 are just keep your eyes on it. The next change that comes through will, if you do these 4 things, will help you get through the curve. First one is, what's the purpose? So that's kind of in that first denial phase. Communicate why, what, give me the end goal. Remember, we said it's better when we know the objectives and the purpose. So if you don't know what the purpose is, if there's a change that's come in your new work protocol, but you don't buy into it because you don't know the purpose, I promise you, you will stay in denial or resistance if you don't get the purpose. We as adults have to know why. That's the difference between adult learners and kid learners. If I told you to sit crisscross applesauce and stare at a wall, you'd be like, why? If I told that to preschoolers, they'd be like, yay, and they go sit crisscross applesauce and stare at a wall. as adults, we have to know the purpose or else we're not doing it. So if you feel denial or resistance, make sure you know the purpose. Why would someone make this protocol? Why would this be something we have to do? Usually it comes from a reason, like someone somewhere high up thought this was a good idea. They usually aren't trying to ruin your lives, but sometimes it feels like it. What's the purpose? Second P is, what's the picture? Like, what's the end goal? So if we do this, if we do these new protocols, what's the end goal? That's going to help me as I explore more, because I'm going to try it because I want to get to the end goal so bad, right? It helps me through resistance a bit and gets me to that exploration. What's my plan? So I know why we have to do this new protocol. I kind of see where the end goal is. If I don't, I've got to ask for it. And then what's my plan? How am I going to handle that? What are my boundaries? What am I going to put into place so that this is easy for me or doable for me? Making a clear, intentional plan. And then what's my part in it, right? When we know employee resistance is the biggest killer to any change actually happening well, it's human resistance. So what is my part? So if I come into a new setting and I'm pissed off about all the protocols, I haven't clearly gotten the purpose, I didn't ask for what's the end goal picture, I don't have a plan, and I'm pissed. That's a lot of peace. My part is to navigate through this. My part is to get those other P's figured out. My part is to ask questions. My part is to come with this human side of change, be very aware of where I'm stuck and what's pissing me off, find someone to share that with, find someone to speak to so that they'll listen, get it out. My part is to try to facilitate seeing how this will work and giving feedback to people if it doesn't. My part is the human side, and all the functional side, the technical side of change, that's all going to come. Someone's going to give you protocols you have to follow, all that. Your side is, how am I reacting? How am I motivating myself to get on board? And if I'm not, what am I doing? We are not victims. We are playing an active role in getting through the change curve. So my part is that human part. So with that, 2 questions for you. And you can unmute or you can type in chat, whatever makes you most comfortable. What is one way that you could help yourself? And if it's about you right now and you don't have team members that you're working with, great. What's one way you could help yourself or others navigate through the changes that are coming or the changes that we're in? And what is one area in the 4 P's that you would say, I need to focus on that? What's one place that you could get a little bit more information on? So how do you help yourself through the change curve, yourself or others? And I'm just going to go backwards just in case you don't have this. And then of the 4 P's, which one do you need to make sure that you seek out or intentionally look into so that you can get yourself through? So this is where I want to hear from you. Type it in chat or unmuting yourself. Yes, Patricia. Lots of meetings or time to review each day, and the picture is most helpful. Okay. So thinking about giving yourself time to think through this each day or kind of have some time there, and then knowing what the end goal is, figuring that out, asking for that. Thank you. About the rest of you, what would be something that you need to just pay attention to in this change curve? And out of those P's, which is the one that you need to make sure you get clarity on or just focus on? And for anyone who doesn't want to type, you can always unmute. Got you, Wendy. Yep, finding out the why. I think If you trust who's telling you the why, it's going to be even easier to take. If you don't trust who's giving you the why, just for personal reasons, you've got to really dig in to help me understand the purpose. What's going on? Why is this? I can get on board with things I understand a lot more if I truly understand the purpose. If I truly see where this is going to get us, I can do almost anything. But if I'm not sure, I will be stuck in resistance or denial for quite a while. Yeah. And Carrie, like to have clarity on the plan as to what things will be like. Yeah. And part of that is asking folks who are out there already, or being prepared to ask people when you get the next job, the next gig comes up, when life gets where you're out there again, asking what's our plan, right? We're not the victims. I'm gonna ask you, what is it? How are we gonna do this? Tell me what the setup is, so that you can get your mind around it, so that you can explore, right? So it's getting clarity. I think that's wonderful, and that's a boundary, is to say, I need clarity before we go in. I want to understand how this is going to work. What about the rest of you? What would be, because this is your basically your takeaway. What would be something that you could do? This is your action plan, that you could do that would help you navigate through easier, or one of these 4 P's to pay attention to. What do y'all think? I will give you moments to type if you are typing, and if not, I will make our way. One thing as the one thing that I do keep going back to is the awareness of where you are is going to be the most important thing for you. Knowing and being aware of where you fall at this moment is what's going to get you to the next spot. If we just keep going through life fast without even just taking a moment to kind of pull this back, give a 30,000 foot view, what's going on, what do I need, where are my fears, what am I feeling, then that's going to be, thank you, Wendy, I see you. That's where we're going to need to really focus, is to see, where am I at? What's that self-awareness? Anything that stuck out to you today? We're going to round home. And I know that some of you have things that need to, that you need to attend to, that's right at that next hour. So I want to be mindful of it. Eileen, I'll focus on the picture or the end goal to get me through resistance, seeking information from a financial advisor. I think that is so smart. Yep. Yep. The end goal picture may be very helpful to get us through and get you through. Where are we going? It almost helps you go, how long might I need to be in this uncomfortable situation? It just gives you an idea. But then really making sure that we aren't victims. So if your area is going to be like that financial piece, let's dive in, right? Open the blinders, see what we need to do, and take steps. That's an exploration step to get you through. Anything else that stood out to you today, of just, again, promised you, and I delivered, that I would not blow your mind with something new, but hopefully it has been just a reminder of how we navigate through change, how other people navigate through change, and what we can do. Just a reminder, what can I do to make sure I don't get stuck, that I don't get in a place of feeling like a victim, feeling I have no control. Those are scary places to be. Anything else that stood out to you of what we were able to cover today? Any other thoughts from you? I sure have one thought. My thought is, I'm grateful to have met you guys. I'm grateful to have learned a little bit more about your industry as I spoke with Ivy, and hear and to understand more about what you guys are up against. So I hope that this has been helpful, that you can take a piece of this and that can be helpful for you. Carrie, I like the listening part, finding someone to listen to. me and to listening to others. It's so important. Not to devalue someone, the at least comment. Ugh. And Patricia, I teach this and I still do it. So when it comes out of my mouth, I'm like, wow, that was excellent. You just devalued your family member or your friend and made yourself feel really knowledgeable. And then I backstep. But that's the cool part. We get to kind of be bad at this sometimes, but if we're aware, at least we get to repair that. We get to go back and do over. Tell me more. I want to hear it. So listening, this is every time I teach this, you guys, every time I walk through this, it's a reminder to me. I want to listen better. I want to say, tell me more. And in my heart of hearts, when I hear someone's pain, I actually just want to make it better. And I do that by going, you'll be fine. At least you got this. Don't worry. And I cut them off. That's my natural tendency because I like to make things better and people happy. Do you know how unhelpful that is? So every time I teach this, it's that reminder, slow it down and listen. Slow it down for me, be heard. Find someone who will hear you. And that allows me to be present. It allows me to be aware. It allows me to be intentional, all those things. So you guys, I thank you so much for your time. I'm going to give you 10 minutes back to your life so that you get to go to the next meeting probably. But thank you so much for being involved. I really appreciate all of your chats and just staying in it with me and keeping this lively and so that I'm not just on a little island by myself. I loved your input. So thank you for coming and taking time to learn about this. So thank you. I appreciate that, Mikhail. Thank you a million. Carrie and Eileen, thank you so much, you guys. I hope you have a great weekend. We're almost there. Not that that really matters. It's all the days of running into each other, but I hope you have a great weekend. And Ivy, thank you again for asking me to come and hang out with you guys.